Good morning to all of you. I think we've had some lovely, very interesting talks before me. Let me first thank the organizers for having me here, especially Mr. Moses and my friend General Arun Sahni. And it's a really interesting subject that you have chosen, managing cyberspace in the Indo-Pacific. Before I talk of cyber, let me just share an experience that I had last evening after this wonderful dinner that we have. And this guest room where I am staying, the bed is a very unique bed. It was occupied by Shri Rabindranath Tagore many moons ago, the Bard of Bengal and the Nobel laureate from India. And I was recalling his first line from his Nobel-winning poem from Gitanjali, where the mind is without fear and where the head is held high. And I thought that this is exactly what we want cyberspace to be: safe, secure, trusted, resilient, vibrant, something that contributes to national security. So with that thought, firstly, as far as cyberspace is concerned, it is a global common. It is something like climate, like the environment, like the pandemic that we just had. And global commons require global solutions, which we saw recently in the vaccine development, etc. So as far as this particular year is concerned, 2021, in the cyber front, there is both good news and bad news. Let me first talk of the good news. The good news is that internationally, a lot of collaborations are coming together. In the United Nations, there is a group called the UNGGE, the UN Group of Government Experts. It's a club of 25 countries. India is one of them. And for the last 20 years, they've been trying to establish norms for responsible behavior by states in cyberspace. The first UNGGE was held in 2002. That's why I'm saying it's taken almost 20 years. And this year in May, they finally come to a consensus, finally, on 11 non-binding norms, which states will follow. And they are really good norms, like your space will not be used to attack critical infrastructure of other countries, etc. And the same thought has been echoed by another club of 193 countries, which is called the Open-Ended Working Group. And even they have come to a consensus. And in the 75th session of the UN General Assembly, they also presented their approval and the consensus. So at the UN level now, finally, things are coming into place. In addition, of course, for cybercrime, we have the Vienna Convention, Paris Call of Trust, Christchurch Call to Action. Peter mentioned about EU. There's a lot of collaboration we are having between India and EU. Ruchi mentioned Quad also. Ms. Georgina is here representing Australia. And in the Quad, we are really taking some substantial steps. It is not a nimble relationship of security in the South China Sea or something now. Now, after the 12th March summit, where the prime ministers had got together, we've decided on about 10 odd verticals, including critical and emerging technologies, etc., where work is happening at a very frantic pace, I can assure you. Things are moving very fast in the Quad front. In addition, very recently on the 12th of October, we had something called the CRI, the Counter Ransomware Initiative, because ransomware is getting more and more serious. 2021 is being called as the year of ransomware as compared to last year. Last year was called the year of phishing, phishing as in PH. Because the pandemic had created a lot of fear and uncertainties were there. So phishing was the most common vector of cyber attacks. But this year it's ransomware. So to counter ransomware, which has now it's crossed the threshold of a crime, it's now a national security issue with what we've seen happened in US, etc. So 32 nations got together, and Germany was there, and US was there, and India was there. And we have devised a counter ransomware initiative. We are working in 4 verticals. One is called network security and resilience, how to make our networks more resilient. Second is tracing illicit finance, because the payment in these attacks takes place through cryptocurrency. So how do you trace it If you recall, in the Colonial Pipeline case, the FBI actually told Colonial Pipeline, you pay the ransom. So they paid $4.5 million, but they got $2.5 million back by tracing the cryptocurrency. So this was the second vertical. The third vertical is disruption. How do we disrupt the network? These people, the way they operate in the dark web, etc. We also have our ways and means. And of course, the final one is cyber diplomacy. So in these four verticals, we are tackling the counter-ransomware initiatives. Then last month, I also attended the ASEAN Plus meeting, where again, a lot of regions which are there in the Indo-Pacific got together. And sometimes when you discuss in these forums, you realize that all of us have similar problems. We are having similar attacks. And that is where this cooperation, that we've been talking about becomes more important. At the BIMSTEC level, we had a workshop last time at the BRICS in July. I conducted a workshop on digital forensics. Recently, just last week, we had the Shanghai Cooperation Organization meeting, SCO. For this particular year, the next 1 year, the chairmanship of this SCO is with us in India. So number conducted. So whether it's BIMSTEC, ASEAN, next week, I'm representing the nation in the Prague 5G Security Summit, where again a large number of nations, including Germany and a lot of nations from EU, we are getting together and trying to see how we can make 5G more safe and secure. Because 5G, as you know, is not only a pure communication system, it will involve Industry 4.0, it will involve IoT. It's a complete environment in itself and an enabler for a large number of services. So one has to be especially careful about the security aspects of 5G. So the point I'm trying to make, this is the good news that I gave, that internationally this year, a number of things are falling into place, especially in the cyber front. The bad news is what Mr. Peter was also referring to about cybercrime. He mentioned $230 million loss for Germany. The World Economic Forum has called cybercrime as the biggest man-made risk to economic progress. And the figure last year is being quoted in various forums as $6 trillion US. That is the total loss due to cybercrime in 2020. That's more than twice India's economy, by the way. So, as I said, ransomware, I gave an example of Colonial Pipeline. There have been JBS Foods, Kesaya. In India also, we've had a number of cyber attacks, especially in our healthcare sector. I remember last year around Diwali, there was a cyber attack, a ransomware attack on this chain of sweets, Haldiram's, because these cyber criminals are very smart. They know whom to attack and who will be under pressure for payment. That's why healthcare is one of the most targeted industries. And there is a service called ransomware as a service, where if you go in the dark and deep web, they have a list of companies. And they say that from these companies, you can get so much ransom also. And just they take their 10-15% and the rest you can take. And the rumor has it that they have their contacts with these cyber insurance companies. So all the companies that have got cyber insurance, they know that the cyber insurance company will pay. How much cyber insurance is there? So that's how they operate. So the bad news that I was giving is that cybercrime is there. Supply chain attacks have become very serious. You would recall the SolarWinds case that happened early this year. And that was again a remarkable, very well-crafted cyber attack where the infection came through the updates of the Orion software. And that was a network management software. So the 18,000 companies that were affected by it, the perpetrators had visibility to the entire network of these 18,000 companies, and they could pick and choose, and that's how they gave this attack. And of course, the digital transformation due to COVID has, really widened the attack surface. Mr. Peter mentioned about the attribution part. This is very interesting. If you come to our National Informatics Center in Delhi, all of you are welcome. They've got this huge panel in the wall in front, and which shows you a global map and where the attacks are coming from. And you find that 40% are emanating from US mainland, United States of America. But that is not the case, because the attacks come through 3-4 hops, and only the last hop is seen. And these attackers, they hire nations where privacy laws are very strict. So the VPS that is hired, they know that he will not reveal the name of who has hired it and things like that. So this is a very worrisome issue about the attribution of these attacks that was mentioned. Now, as regards the Indo-Pacific region, it is increasingly being viewed as a global center of gravity, both for its economic and demographic potential, and the security challenges that could hamper those possibilities. India, as a champion of the principle of free and open Indo-Pacific that was mentioned, is engaged with its partners in the region, such as under the Quad mechanism, to ensure that rules, norms, and standards that govern new technologies reflect our vision of a free, open, resilient, and inclusive Indo-Pacific. When the Quad leaders met early this year, they reaffirmed their shared commitment to maintain and strengthen a rules-based order in the Indo-Pacific, in which all nations are sovereign, strong, and prosperous. The focus of the Indo-Pacific initiative is therefore on connectivity, enhancing maritime security, counterterrorism, non-proliferation, and cyber issues. For managing cyberspace in the Indo-Pacific, we need to define our commitments based on shared values and priorities, which play a greater role for the security and stability of the region's maritime domain. India is already on the path of implementing the existing legislations and legal frameworks to safeguard the existing national sovereign cyberspace. We are reviewing the existing national cybersecurity policy, the IT Act, cyber crisis management plans, a national digital communication policy, and are working on a national cybersecurity strategy with the vision that I mentioned earlier. In order to realize this vision, we all need to undertake actions that enable the development of a sound ecosystem, supplementing the three pillars of securing national cyberspace, strengthening our existing structures, and synergizing the resources for their optimal utilization. As far as our critical sectors are concerned, what we have decided is that out of all the critical sectors, two are supercritical. So presently we are laying a great focus on telecom sector and the power sector, because they underline all the other sectors. So a lot of effort is being done to protect these things by the National Critical Information Infrastructure Protection Agency, and the DG is going to be speaking in the variety session for that. Our CERT-IN is constantly interacting with about 700 CISOs for advisories and incident response. For cybercrime, we have a very good organization called the Indian Cybercrime Coordination Center under the Ministry of Home Affairs. Let me end by saying that cybersecurity is all about collaboration, and there should be a strong coordination between global, regional, and federal organizations, along with public-private partnerships. This is very important. The private sector plays a very key role in cybersecurity. This will not only help us to counter cybercrime, but also pursue new areas of innovation, the digital economy, cybersecurity, and cyber-enabled critical and emerging technologies. Let me all wish you a safe and healthy future in these extraordinary times. Thank you very much for having me here. Jai Hind.